So for this video, I'm going to start the process of revisiting my card review series that I had meant to finish a long time ago, in fact before the We Play trip, but unfortunately life happened. So we're going to be reviewing red improvements for this video, and then hopefully I will continue through and cover all of the rest of the cards in the base set going forward. So this one will be short and sweet because there are not many improvements in red, but we're going to kind of review them. As a quick aside, if you haven't seen the other review videos, I do not give these like a point rating or anything like that because I don't want you guys to see a score and then dismiss things. So instead I kind of talk about what they're good at, what they're useful for, because that'll tell you the situations they're good, and I'm just going to trust that you're a smart enough player to say, hey, is this good in the current meta? Is this not? Is this good in something like draft? And in the future, right, if the cards are not good now, there may be other cards released in future sets that could interact well with them. So I think it's really important to just kind of understand what the cards do. Now that I've done that, let's just dive right into it, right? Because this is going to be a short video and I don't need to drone on and on. Right out of the gate we have Burning Oil, right? Burning Oil is 1 mana, as you can see, and it says your tower has +2 retaliate. So this card is very, very good against boards that want to go wide, and it's even better in multiples. The sweet spot is 2 Burning Oils because that would be enough to kill any melee creep that damages you. Now, the downside is that it has to damage you, right? So if your tower is already low in health, this becomes less and less effective. But if you can play this card early, and the 1 mana helps with that, and you can play it in lanes that you know or you think your opponent is going to be trying to contest, then it can be very, very good. So if you have snowballed in one lane and your opponent has basically won another lane and you're going into that third highly contested lane, it's a great spot for Burning Oil. If your opponent has, say, played something that makes them go wide, whether it's Canna's signature card or something like D-Portal, you can respond with this. Again, you are going to take some damage because it is retaliate for this to have an effect. This can be paired very well with Vestments, Vesture of the Tyrant, excuse me. So in that regard, you have some combo potential as well, but essentially you use this against decks that want to go wide. It has seen some play as like a tech choice in Constructed. In fact, in the We Play tournament that I was helping to cast/host, we did see Life Coach and his group of players, if you will, Super JJ, so forth, bring this as a tech choice. So it does see some play in that regard, but doesn't see widespread use because, again, it is one of those things that is just trying to target a specific deck type. It's not necessarily good all the time. It has the potential to be a dead draw. In draft, I think it's pretty good, specifically because in draft, things kind of boil down to value plays traditionally and what I would consider like core mechanics or basics and things like that. And so something like this, when there's less crazy combos that are going off, I think it has more value there. So overall, it's certainly a playable card, and it does have its role against certain deck archetypes. Next up, we have Grand Melee. And this is one of those cards that looks like okay on first glance, but then when it sets in exactly what it's saying, you kind of do a double check. So 3 mana. If there's an allied red hero in this lane, all heroes have +2 cleave. Now, the thing that is key to understanding this card is this word right here. All heroes. All. All. I'm going to say it again for effect. All. So, you can play this in a lane, and if you've got a red hero there, it means that your heroes have +2 cleave. Great. It also means enemy heroes have +2 cleave, because it is all heroes, not just all allied heroes. And as such, this can be a bit of a liability in highly contested lanes. This is the kind of card that I have not seen played in Constructed very often because the benefit is not worth the drawback in many cases. The benefit of a card like this would just simply be that it can help you keep lanes clear in lanes that you're attempting to push, meaning if you have heavy control of a lane and somebody tries to stall, this can help you clear through it. But the fact of the matter is, there's just more effective cards at doing that, and for this to potentially backfire on you and give them a benefit, it just ends up not being worth it. I have seen it played a couple of times in draft, but draft is also kind of a crapshoot as well, right? Because you're going to run into scenarios where you're going to have a highly contested lane, and it's going to take one like splashy card or one bomb rare or something for it to potentially get out of control, get away from you. It's just really hard to guarantee that you're going to be getting not just value, but enough value out of this, specifically when you compare it to cards like Clear the Deck, which are pretty easy to pick up in draft and are honestly just typically more effective. Yes, it's only a one-turn effect when you use Clear the Deck, but a lot of times when you're trying to clear a path to punch a tower, one turn is typically all you need. So, interesting card, might have use in the future. This is one of those ones where I would earmark it for potential synergy later, because it is an interesting effect. If there are lots of ways, for example, that you can give your own stuff retaliate, then perhaps giving your opponent and their heroes cleave could benefit you, right? But that doesn't exist right now, so, you know, just kind of keep in mind that it exists, but right now it's not super great just because of the way things are going in both formats, draft and constructed. Next up we have Pass as Bold. After you play a red card, modify a random ally with +1 attack. In my opinion, this card would be a lot better if it was modify a random allied hero, because you would have a better idea of like knowing where the +1 attack was going to land. Because it's random ally, you could play like 3 red cards in a lane where this is. Keep in mind this does trigger itself, right? But you could play a bunch of red cards in a lane and not have it hit any of your heroes, and thus the modify part kind of gets lost. The bonus of modify is that if you modify your heroes, that bonus for the most part sticks around for the rest of the game and you get long-term value. But if you're just modifying melee creeps, and you know, even if they just hit a tower for +1 or +2 damage a couple of times, that's not really a ton of value. And going a step further, if it modifies things that are about to die anyway, specifically creeps that are not going to be coming back like your heroes, then you're just losing value. So the fact that this has you know, no good ways to kind of mitigate exactly what's getting the bonus, and you may or may not get the value, just makes it not very good. I've even tried playing this in constructed in like an all red deck, and it still didn't feel good enough to make the cut in you know, just red. So I think that speaks volumes about the power level of the card currently. Again, in the future, as more red cards come along, perhaps it'll have better synergy, better strategies that evolve with it. But right now, in draft, you oftentimes don't draft enough red cards to really make this worthwhile. And in constructed, it's just kind of weak on the power level side. Next up, we have Temple of War. All equipped heroes have +2 attack and +1 armor. Now again, the thing you have to note here is it is all, not all allied equipped heroes. So this is, much like Grand Melee, a card that your opponent can take advantage of as well. This is okay in draft, because typically in draft you have a lot of the basic items in your deck, and so it's really easy to equip a hero and start getting some immediate bonuses. But again, has the potential to backfire on you, and even more so, at least with Grand Melee, you can like deactivate Grand Melee by not deploying a red hero to that lane anymore if things get out of control. This does not require a red hero to be present for these bonuses to trigger, so this could potentially really backfire on you, and as such, it's a bit of a risky play. I'm not saying I've never seen it played, but it does not see a lot of play in constructed, and in draft, it is a risk. That's the way that I'll put it. It's not unheard of to see people play it, but just know that it is a risk, and it does affect enemy heroes and your own. That's what I'll say about that one. And then the last one is the Olmecs Arena. This is 6 mana, and it says draw a card after a hero dies. Now, the good news is this is your heroes or your opponent's heroes in a lane, so this can reward you for a lot of different things. You could play this in a lane, like because it's an improvement and you can play cross lane, you could play this in a lane, and then when it shifts to that lane, if you've got like Axe and a sweet Berserker's Call where you're clearing out like 2 or 3 heroes and your Axe dies, this could result in a really big amount of cards drawn. You could clean up 3 or 4 cards. The question you have to ask yourself is that worth it, right? Because 6 is a lot of mana to play essentially just a card draw spell. There's a lot of really good ways to draw cards in the game, and most of them are pretty mana efficient. Most of them are either cards that cycle themselves at 3 mana or less, or even if you look at a card like Unearthed Secrets, which I'll review when we get to green, that's an improvement where you can, over the course of a game, draw a lot of cards for only a 3 mana investment. Even if you look in blue and you've got something like Foresight, you can get immediate value for just a 4 mana one-time investment. So this is 6, and yes, it's going to stick around, but 6 is such an important mana cost because it's when a lot of the really big, really splashy plays come online in Artifact. It's really where the power level of the cards played ramps up. It's your coup de grace, it's your Berserker's Call, it's your Annihilation. There are so many big plays that become available to you on 6 mana that spending 6 for conditional card draw feels really bad. Even in draft mode, this kind of feels really bad because in draft, you're probably not hurting for cards. It's really rare that you draft so well that you've got a like ultra low curve and you hit all your plays and now you're just starving for cards, so this is the answer. You would much rather, again, be playing some splashy signature spell, right? Like maybe you've got Skywrath or something like that. It's just, if this costs 4, I think this sees a ton of play. If it costs 5, I think it might see some conditional play. But 6 is a really big detriment in terms of cost for this card. As such, I have not seen it played very often. Again, I'm not going to say I've never seen it played, and I'm not going to say that there might not be some cool combo with it in the future, but right now, in the current constructed meta, and for what I'm seeing in draft, it just feels really lackluster because the power level of cards played on a turn where this would be coming online, and for the effect that this card grants, it just doesn't feel great. Anyway, that's my assessment. This one is the short one. Red has the least number of improvements right now, so the other ones will be a little bit longer. I am going to go through the rest of the cards in the game, so we're going to hit improvements, spells, and creeps for each of the colors, just so that I can have this series done, because I promised some people I would get it done. I'm going to try to weave in gameplay videos and tips and stuff throughout, so that it's not just, the same stuff for like the next 12 videos or whatever. But yeah, if you made it this far, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.